Hey everyone, it's Christian back, and it is about 7:30 in the morning here. I'm in Miami, and I want to do a review of Coccothrinax crinita, otherwise known as the old man palm. So the reason it's called the old man palm is that you can see the trunk is a ton of hair. It looks like cousin It from the Addams family, and this is a really good specimen because it has a ton of hair. Some of them have shorter hair or not as much hair, or it'll lose the hair eventually and the trunk underneath will be exposed. But this one is one of the best specimens as far as the hair goes. The leaves are a little ratty from the hurricane, but this palm is endemic to Western Cuba, to Pinar del Rio province, which is the westernmost province there. There's a lot of cool Coccothrinax and Coccothrinax that do grow in that area. So this palm is actually relatively cold hardy. I've seen it growing in areas 9B, borderline 9A areas. Now they do protect it with some frost cloth during some freezes, so that should be taken into account. But for the most part, this palm can handle a decent amount of cold, more cold than you think a Cuban palm would. And that goes for a lot of Coccothrinax and Coccothrinaceae that grow in either drought or a little bit cooler areas, like say up in the mountains. So there's certain species that will grow in the more tropical areas, and they're not nearly as tolerant of that. But these here are pretty cold hardy as far as a plant that grows in the tropics is. So one of the aspects of this palm that is very different is that it has a much larger seed than the rest of the ones in the species, and the seed itself is going to be, when it produces seed, which it actually should have produced seed this about a month ago. Maybe it was already cut off, but the seed is going to be a purple, and the fruit is going to be purple. The seed inside is going to be more of like a brownish white. You get this real white, like light brown color. That's the sign of a nice fresh seed. When it's darker brown, it means the fruit kind of inundated the fruit is, by the way, will stain everything that it will touch. It's like red wine, so be careful when handling it if you're wearing some clothes you do care about. It's gonna look like a big it has a bunch of cuts and notches in them, so it'll look like it's all wrinkled up, but it's actually nice and fresh. And these like hot, humid conditions, so you can plant them. I'd plant them a little bit in the ground. What I do is with remote germinators, small seeded remote germinators. As far as the seed, this size is going to be about half the size of a marble. Now, because it's on the relatively smaller size, I plant them a little bit into the ground, so in case they pop themselves out. Now, this is the little gardens here. I guess that the water feature is coming on. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired this morning, so I might be a little bit slow, but so when I'm planting remotely germinating seeds that are relatively small, for example, if I were to plant a big Atalaya seed, I'll lay it on the ground, and the seed is heavy enough that the root will not push itself out of the soil. But these are lighter, so they will push out. So you want to plant them a little bit deeper, like maybe 3/4 to like just above the surface level, so you can kind of like just barely see them. It's probably the best way to go. And keep it hot and humid in there, and you'll get they sprout pretty well as long as they're fresh. Give them about 30 days and they're good to go. But the hair in this is quite a novelty. It's definitely a reason these plants are grown. They become more common lately. 10 years ago, a plant like this would go for maybe $150 to $200 a foot. So let's say this is an 8-foot, 10-foot plant. You're talking about a $2,000 plant. Now it's about half that, maybe a little bit less, depending. You can actually find these at Home Depot in the southeast. I've seen them, well, at least in Florida. I've seen them all around Central and South Florida. So they become more common recently, and they become more affordable, I guess you could say. I remember the first time I ever bought one of these, it was not nearly as cheap as the ones I've gotten recently. So they're relatively easy growing. They do have some issues where they'll come out with a funky leaf. Definitely feed them plenty of iron and manganese. That is definitely, they grow in serpentine soils, which are high in cobalt and nickel, and that's natural in Cuba. It's a very weird soil that would seem it was unfavorable to the growth of anything, but these do grow there along with a few other Cuban palms. So make sure to keep that in effect, and make sure it's, you know, it's high in what's it called, trace elements. And so yeah, manganese for sure, iron for sure, and these should stay pretty green for you. So this one doesn't look excellent up top. Usually has a tighter crown, but because of the hurricane, you can see it was all ripped up, but it's still standing. So that's something to say about that. But anyway, before the sun decides to glare right in my face, I'm gonna leave this one here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions about Coccothrinax crinita, the old man palm, or other Coccothrinax, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I will go ahead and answer them. I'm sorry I haven't been responding to comments lately. I've just been on the road, and I can't do it as easily when I'm on my phone versus my computer. So I don't always get internet where I am. And new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, and you'll see many more palm reviews like this. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and have a good day.